there is absolutely a war on Bitcoin. So if you need any evidence that there's a Bitcoin war going on between people within the community and outside the community, look no further than just today's prices. Today, Bitcoin hit a maximum high of $33,233. Like, incredible. And this happened in a matter of hours. Do you realize what type of money needs to be drawn into this environment to push the market cap that high so quickly? Which brings me to, well, where is this money coming from? Like, what? And so in addition to this meteoric rise, literally in minutes, the price crashed from 33,000 to about 30,000. So, it's times like this that I have to wonder that there are outside influences. I mean, beyond the whales, the crypto whales that are trying to rake in profits. Because, the crypto environment is unregulated. So all I really need to do if I'm someone with billions of dollars is pump a bunch of money into the environment and then watch that price rise and then just pull all my money back. And you would literally, in minutes, just increase your value without anyone regulating, without anyone calling foul play. And so it's so easy. For me, it's so easy to manipulate the price. And in ways, that's a good thing. We want this kind of free floating point in the long term. But in the short term, it brings up a few problems. So war on Bitcoin, point number one. So for many years, this volatility and these wild swings from up to down in the Bitcoin community could be attributed to really powerful whales. The problem is the whales, as we know today, are actual institutions. We're talking about hedge fund managers. We're talking about banks. And soon it looks like we're going to have central banks starting to buy up Bitcoin and hold on to it in 2021. All of this it creates a really wild environment where, let's say, just a thought experiment, let's say I'm the US Fed, right? Or some US bank, let's say JP Morgan and Chase. It's not that hard to pump $10 billion into Bitcoin, just call it a side, secret, shadowy project. Watch our price rise, and then after a few hours, I got what I wanted, let me just sell all of that. There's a closed circuit here which allows them to do that. And these are the type of things that worry me in the Bitcoin space. I'm a big proponent for Bitcoin. I'm a huge investor. I'm going to be holding for the next 10, 20 years perhaps. And I will always tell people hold maybe 1% of your assets in Bitcoin. But when I see things like this, it really worries me. And it's just point number one of this influential battle that is happening. Point number two is, have you seen, so FinCEN, which is a regulatory body within the government that is designated with the task of regulating crypto under the Trump administration. They have proposed two very worrisome policies and without virtually any time for feedback. As far as 8 days ago, they allowed commenting to happen over a very busy Christmas holiday season, and they're trying to rush these two policies through the door before the Biden administration comes through. It's up to us to voice our opinions. But the first proposed rule from FinCEN is, one, if you are sending $3,000 worth of any crypto from any exchange, the exchange must report this to FinCEN and to the government. In addition to that, the exchange will force you as a consumer to provide evidence that you are indeed the owner of that wallet or show who exactly owns that wallet. Now, that sounds crazy by itself, but if you look even deeper to the underlying meaning behind all that, it means that big financial institutions, institutions, including businesses, won't be able to trade large sums of money to one another without the facility of a bank. So this kind of forces centralization already, which goes against everything that the Bitcoin community wants. We want a deregulated environment. We want a decentralized environment. This essentially centralizes all that power to the central bank and to the banks that the central bank prop up. The exchanges are they are vying for that type of financial institution title, which gives them leeway to trade with fiat currency as well. So as you can see, it's kind of a trap in the making already. But there's another part to that. If you have to identify your wallet that you're sending to, you are eliminating the anonymous part of Bitcoin, which we know is a good thing because we don't want government knowing what we're doing. We don't want them knowing how we spend our money. We don't want them to know, how the hell do I wipe my ass? And what's happening is, and which really concerns me, is that doors are being closed one by one that gives opportunity to truly stay hidden, to get off the grid. I can see a really kind of dystopian future where the government decides every single part of our lives, not giving us the freedom to make any type of choices. It sounds kind of exaggerated, but it's already happening. Some other policies that were introduced was that if you own $10,000 or more in any exchange, any account, this must be reported by the exchange to the local authorities. This includes offshore exchanges, not just US-based exchanges. So I understand where they're coming with this. They are trying to prevent tax evasion. They're trying to prevent tax evasion and maybe bad actors that are trying to hide criminal activities from the government. So again, it makes sense, but we need to be just a tad bit concerned of what type of information do these banks give or these exchanges give. And last but not least, the possibility of trying to corner people that break sanctions. So, interesting story. BitGo was just charged with 183 counts of disobeying a sanction. They pretty much assisted citizens of another country in buying cryptocurrency and holdings and all these other stuff. And it was only about $9,000. Nothing huge. They weren't funding terrorism, nothing like that. They were fined about $83,000. So, for me, this is also concerning because, the thing about Bitcoin is that the hopes and dreams from a libertarian's point of view is that Bitcoin will free up the other nations, will free up individuals from these kind of tyrannical government rules when they don't make sense. And I love the U.S. government. I love what they stand for, but I can see that if money is centralized mainly by what Americans do or what any crazy American leaders say, a Trump of the future. To have all monetary policy based upon these kind of unstable, positions is a threat to the world. I think that every country should have the freedom to trade with one another without the U.S. being involved in every nook and cranny of it all. That's the claim. The claim is that it's supposed to stop terrorism. But the definition of terrorism is pretty much anything that neighboring empire doesn't like. So Bitcoin is also always seen as some sort of utopian currency where anyone can trade with whoever they want anonymously, and they pay their taxes when it's related to that country's trade, when it's related to the country's trade and economy. So, for instance, I believe country A that doesn't like the U.S. should be able to trade with country B that also doesn't like the U.S. It doesn't matter what that country is, but I understand you want to maintain a system, the power of the U.S. government somehow, and you can't do that if you allow sanctions to not be able to work. So on this I am divided because I am a resident and a citizen of the U.S. and I love this, but I also love freedom. I believe that this empire that we are creating as a country with a crazy military complex and with ever-growing political division amongst its citizens, this is a worry for me in the long run as an investor, that maybe the financial future isn't as solid as it could be. I mean, with those 3 points, the reporting of wallets by exchanges, and also the manipulation of the price point, all these things give me pause about Bitcoin's future. But there is hope. I feel both pessimistic on one side, because there will always be this world where governments will always fight back against financial freedoms of the people in favor of making sure that they maintain that power, to maintain that empire. But at the same time, I'm optimistic because, just like George Hotz, the famous hacker, Geo Hotz, said that, it doesn't matter what happens, the technology and the community will always win. Open source is the way to solve these problems as we are faced with them, and as a community stand strong and support these systems as best we can. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you like what I'm talking about. I'm doing this much more frequently now, and support the channel. We are trying to be the #1 truth teller on YouTube. And also, we're still kind of in the infancy stage, so we can tell you a little bit more of the truth that other channels can't tell you, because we have the flexibility of staying under the radar. So thank you again for joining us, and I hope to see you next week. Remember, happy holidays, stay safe, and God bless. Take care.